No black cats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen. Welcome to the Perfect Play Pursuit. We are here on a break week giving you predictions for Lewis versus Teixeira, UFC Nashville, full card, top to bottom, early predictions. Because even though we just had an amazing night, even though we just had an amazing weekend, we already got to get situated for the next battle. This is a war. A lot of fallen soldiers lay in the wake. Dan comes to mind. But at the end of the day, rest in peace, Dan.
In this episode, dude. I don't...
And we got Lewis versus Teixeira, and I'm not talking Glover. I'm talking Taliesin Teixeira. And guys, I'm not too excited about it. I'll be honest with you. We got a break week. Not excited about that. Sleepy UFC Nashville card. Not excited about that. But what I am excited about is my favorite fighter, Ilia Topuria, winning his second world title. Ilia Topuria remaining undefeated, taking his third scalp in the form of a knockout victory against a former world champion, against a former legend, a former greatest in his division. I mean, Volkanovski, I came on this podcast, I told you, Ilia Topuria fights to the level of his competition. Ilia Topuria is going to knock out Volkanovski. Max Holloway, I came on here, I told you Max has the most strikes ever landed in the UFC, but he's got the most strikes ever absorbed. His coconut's going to crack. Ilia's not afraid of anything he's throwing. He's going to close the distance, touch the coconut, crack the coconut. Max will be knocked out for the very first time by Ilia Topuria. Predicted that. This weekend, most of what I won had to do with Ilia finishing Charles. The top of my parlays, the top of my $50 to win $750 parlay, which included number 1, Terrence McKinney. Number 2, Gregory Rodriguez by knockout, and what a knockout it was. Number 3, Beneil Dariush. Even though Alex and I came on here, we picked Moicano. We told you, we said, we got to watch the weigh-ins. We got to see how this leads up, because at the end of the day, Moicano is a rich man. He's got the Super Bowl hangover. He just made a ton of money. Dariush lying in weight might beat him, and he did beat him. And then Ilia round 1, 2, and 3, 50 for $750. That was the 4-leg parlay. But I also had $115 on Ilia to win in round 1 by knockout. That paid plus 260 odds, 115 for 415, $300 there, a total of $1,051 made on between two bets that netted 165.47 between the two bets. So we essentially 10x'd on the bets that we won. I did not take all that money home. I pretty much pocketed a very small amount of money. I lost $500 betting on Kai Kara France. And then I lost, another 500 in various parlays and hedge plays and things of that nature. So I only won like $20. I'll be honest with you guys. But it doesn't matter, because winning 20 is so much better than losing 1,000 that it felt like a win. It felt like a big win. And to be able to go into the main event that confidently, knowing I essentially bet $1,000 on Ilia, basically, is what it came down to. I basically lost 1,000 and said, let me bet 1,000 on Ilia to win it all back. And not just Ilia, but Ilia to win in devastating fashion. That's what he did. I bet on it. I predicted that. I said he was going to win by round 1 knockout. But I was still amazed. He still was able to astound me. He did everything from the press conferences to the walkouts to the way he carries himself through these interviews with his wife. Comes out dressed immaculately. His son's matching him. His wife's matching him. This guy is inspirational. I love him. I have a crush on him. He's my favorite man, my favorite fighter, and I'm going to start copying him. So, I always did rock the low taper fade, but I'm going to really just take a picture of him into my hairstylist and say, make me look like him. No tattoos for me, but I will just have to start working out and growing a beard and making my wife dress like me and my kid dress like me. I want my son in a suit with a little rose out of it. I want it all, and I'm just going to pretend that I have the same need for my physical appearance to resemble Ilia and just go full steam ahead in that direction. So the night was good for me. It was really, really fucking good. And hate to say I told you so for the third time, but Ilia Topuria is not the villain everybody wants to make him out to be. These guys that everybody has lauded are just not as good as they think they are. and I'll go through that in a little bit. But first, Alex, take me through your viewing experience. How was your night? How was your day? How was everything?
Had a fantastic viewing experience. Ilya Topuria absolutely knocked my socks off. Absolute stellar performance. Did everything correct. There's nobody on the planet who can beat this man. He is far too good, far too fast, far too powerful. And, I did pick Ilya Topuria, but after that Jai Herbert fight, I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned about, Charles' dimensions. But as soon as the fight started, it was one-way traffic. Ilya Topuria absolutely put a beat down on him, knocked him out super quick, faster than Islam was able to get Charles Oliveira out of there. I think he should hunt down that fight. Dana was sitting here talking shit about Paddy the Baddy getting in the cage. That's the biggest possible fight you can make right now. It would be bigger. It would be the biggest fight since Conor versus Habib. And call me crazy, but I truly do believe that. I think there's enough bad blood, steam, B-roll to that rivalry that you could really make a good amount of money on that one. And fuck Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, Arman Sarukian absolutely getting cucked by Paddy the Baddy on live broadcast. They show Justin Gaethje in the crowd. They show Arman Sarukian in the crowd. Guy weighs in as a backup fighter. And then they show Paddy the Baddy. Paddy the Baddy gets the nod. Paddy the Baddy gets the invite into the cage. Paddy the Baddy gets the call out. I think that's the best possible fight you can make. I wouldn't even let Paddy risk it against Justin Gaethje, even though I think he beats Justin Gaethje. And I know Ilya Topuria knocks Justin Gaethje out, flatlines him in one round as well. Even though I know that for sure, you shouldn't even take the chance. You shouldn't even roll those dice. You should let Paddy the Baddy and Ilya Topuria fight right now. It's the best possible fight you can make.
Hold on. There's so many things I want to comment on based on what you just said. So it was very interesting the way the UFC mobilized. You got to think every event you have is worth nothing if you don't use the event to sell the next event. When you have a pay-per-view event, you have everybody in the arena, you have everybody watching at home. You need to get them excited for what's next because you already have them for today. So 2 times we saw that happen where Joshua Van beats Brandon Royval. Now, I thought Van won round 3 clearly, and I thought he lost round 2. Round 1, I thought Van, but close. So to see him win was not surprising. To see him get 30-27, I thought was surprising because at the end of the day, he landed. He got double the amount of strikes landed on him in round 2 than he landed. At a certain point, if nobody's butt hits the canvas, you got to treat it like it's a basketball game. You can't determine that his strikes were just more significant because of the way they landed and the sound they made versus Royval's volume. He put up way more points. Just because Van had a couple slam dunks doesn't discount Royval's 3 points and his fucking layups and all the points he was landing in that quarter or that round in this case. So, in my opinion, if nobody's butt hits the ground, if nobody's showing clear, visible damage, and one, you have to go by the metrics and the points landed, right? All things equal. And I think Van won. That fight was absolutely amazing. First of all, the most strikes ever thrown in a fight. I believe the most strikes ever landed in a fight for Royval. They broke all kinds of records in terms of strikes landed, strikes thrown in a round, strikes thrown in a fight, all of it, right? I was watching the fight, and I thought Brandon Royval looks like the third Diaz brother. He looks amazing. I loved every second of it, and I thought it was an amazing fight. Royval should have his head up very high after that performance, and it was kind of sad to me that they really did roll out the red carpet for Van in the face of Royval after a close fight like that and kind of didn't give Royval his flowers. I know Dana White said he gave him his win bonus. He said they are going to take care of him. I hope Brandon Royval hangs his head up high and just says, look, I'm always one away from a title shot. It doesn't fucking matter. Let Van go in there and do it right now. I'll rest up. I'll be fine. But I'm always one away from a title shot with performances like that. Keep it up. Keep following the Diaz brother playbook. My point is they mobilized Van into that Pantoja title shot. And they did kind of talk about that at the press conference. So I'll give them that. But they got him in there after Pantosia's win. They got him ringside. They really mobilized everything pretty quick. Only to be outdone in the main event when they mobilized Paddy the Baddy like that. Now, here's what I'll say. There's a lot of layers to this. Layer one, Ilya says, there's a blonde bitch there. There's a guy whose back hurts. Joe Rogan decides to ignore the guy whose back hurts part. Ignore the fact that Sarukian weighed in as the backup fighter. Ignore the fact that he was already supposed to fight for the championship and couldn't. And go right to Paddy. So was that something in Joe's ear? Was that Joe's heart? Was that Joe's mind? Was that Joe thinking he knows what Dana White wants? Thinking he knows? Because he would. So I think Joe just knows what's going on and kind of gives a guiding hand towards Paddy in that moment. He does. Perfect. Now, at this point, Ilya has kind of the say. And he says, bring that bitch in here. So now we know Ilya wants the Paddy fight. And God, does he deserve it. You beat Volk. You beat Max. You beat fucking Charles. Now you get your vacation. Now you get your reward. You know, this is your biggest name, easiest fight in front of the most eyeballs for the most amount of money, right? Now, on paper, that's all true. I think Paddy's a lot better than people give him credit for. And ultimately, I hope Ilya takes this fight as seriously as he would take any other fight, goes in there. I've said here, Ilya fights the level of his competition. Don't be surprised if Paddy puts up a harder fight than Volk, Max, and fucking Charles. Don't be surprised, because Ilya looked a lot better against Volk, Max, and Charles than he did against Bryce Mitchell, Jai Herbert, or Yusuf Zalal. He looked way better because Ilya, and I've said this from the very beginning, fights to the level of his competition. Zalal's great, but I'm just saying that Ilya will, and I think that almost could be considered dead because now he has kind of like penetrated a barrier of sorts into absolute notoriety, stardom, and money and fame. And I think every performance now he treats the same. And I hope that to be true, because if he loses to Paddy the Baddy, the last three fights mean absolutely fucking nothing. Everything means nothing. So while this might be considered the easy fight, the fight that has the least amount of stakes and all that, it's actually the biggest one. This is like when I used to wrestle in high school, and I'd have to go against a kid who won states the last year or placed in regions or whatever. And I'd be like, all right, I'm probably going to lose this match. I would fear no fear at all. I'd be like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to test myself against somebody way better than me. If I win, I get the ultimate prize. If I lose, everybody expects me to lose anyway. No fear, no pressure. You go in there against a kid who you look at his record, he's 1-14. He fucking sucks. It's his first year wrestling. I would be way more nervous for those matches because I'm like, man, I have nothing to gain. I'm supposed to pin this kid instantly. And if I do anything less than that, it's a loss. And God forbid he fucking just catches me in something and I get pinned and I lose and I have that humiliation stain for the rest of my life. So these fights, I think, are the hardest ones to win. They're the most nerve-wracking. They're the most annoying. Be careful what you ask for in a lot of ways. What I was interested about all that is that they mobilized so quickly. They got Paddy in the ring after Ilya called for him. Dana said he wouldn't have let it happen had he were there, but he had already left at that point. Hey, Dana, why already leave at that point? Maybe stick a fucking round. I don't know. The guy who just won your world championship is still talking. Maybe just like be there. I don't know. Hey, whatever. You know, beat the crowd through your secret door that you don't have to worry about a crowd. Anyway, so I think Dana wanted that to happen, didn't want to be accountable for it, so left on purpose, and that's why it happened. And then Dana was completely fine with the promotion aspect of it. What he was trying to be classy about was he said, you know, Ilya's got his wife and his kid in there, and it's his moment, and he shouldn't have been overshadowed, yada, 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 right? And then they even asked, they said, well, what about Van and Royval? You brought Van in for the Pantoja thing. He goes, well, we had already talked about that at the press conference to say that he was going to be next, so that made sense. But with Paddy, first of all, you got Armand was there, and he was like, but he was mostly saying that like for Ilya's moment, like he was more so like, I wanted to look out for Ilya, but Ilya wanted it to happen. So all good there. Dana's like, oh, I get to be the good guy. I got what I wanted. Ilya's not mad at me. You know what I mean? He didn't want it to be like, look at Dana White dragging in Paddy the Baddy, and then he gets into a shoving match with Ilya in front of his wife and his kid. Like UFC they're classless. They have no.
And that push, by the way, was so cute and adorable. While
it's hard to push when you got like a back.
I know he was like holding the two belts, trying to make sure he didn't drop him. It was just like, it's just like a 1-inch push.
But it's all friendly, and he knew he wasn't really mad. He just wanted to give them that, and they'll do it in slow motion when they roll the B-roll for the promo of the fight. It'll be like, dum, dum, it'll make it seem a lot. We'll take care of that in post. Perry, hi. Ilya is a superstar. Welcome to the show. What a fight. What an amazing performance. I think if I'm Ilya, you knock off Paddy the Batty, you make Arman fight Justin. Justin won't fight him, so Arman will fight someone else or won't fight at all. No worries. You knock off Paddy, and then you go fight Islam. But I almost worry that it will take away from the Islam fight if we do Paddy in between. I almost worry it'll get him too much money, too much fun, too much notoriety, and then he won't be the same for the Islam fight. I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing.
That's the only concern with Ilya, because at this point, he is taking on Conor McGregor.
If I'm Dana White, I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Ilya, sit tight. Paddy is fighting Justin. Arman, sit tight. You got money. You don't need to fight. Sit tight. Heal that back. I got an acupuncturist I want you to see. I got a cupping guy I want you to see. I got a chiropractor I want you to see. We need to make sure that back. So Arman, sit tight. Gaethje, you're fighting Paddy. Ilya, sit tight. We see what happens with Makhachev, De La Maddalena. One way, if Islam loses, no point to even do the Topuria fight. If Islam wins, Ilya moves up and fights 170. While Justin and Paddy fight for an interim belt. So, Justin, basically it'll be like 4 or 5 months from now, we get Justin and Paddy for an interim belt. Within those 4 or 5 months, we see more information on the Makhachev, De La Maddalena situation. Depending on the outcome of that, depends on what Ilya does. Ilya either moves up to 170 to fight Makhachev for a super fight to claim a third belt and a second simultaneously, right? If he beats Makhachev, he goes back down and fights the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy. If he loses to Makhachev, he goes back down and fights the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy. If Makhachev loses to Maddalena, same exact scenario. Topuria moves up and fights Maddalena. Or Topuria just fights the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy. But we need a little bit more punctuation. We need a little bit more percolation. We need a little bit more of a settling of the tides. And Ilya need take no part in settling those tides. It's up to everybody else now. Ilya has done enough. That's my point. Ilya has done enough. What up, Two Finger Mikey? We are here off of a very good weekend. We're here celebrating, and there's a lot more to discuss, really. But what are your thoughts on just kind of how the UFC seem to put a lot out there in terms of, and we've all been talking about how the UFC for weeks and weeks and weeks has been stale, dead, nothing to talk about, slow news days. With one event, they managed to get us some interest generating at flyweight. They managed to get us some interest generating at both lightweight and welterweight, and a new superstar that is unquestionably doing things that, I mean, I heard Cody Safdie in his recap say he's already got a better resume than Khabib. And in his opinion, already has a better resume than John Jones. And in his opinion, isn't even done yet. I mean, I really think Ilya could go down. He really is 2 fights away from being inarguably the greatest to ever do it.
I'd agree. I mean, his resume is untouchable. There hasn't been another guy with a resume as good as his. And I think that he's going to go down as the greatest to ever do it if he can continue this trajectory. The longevity of John Jones is undeniable, but that's with, some tainted supplements, so to say. So,
but think about this. He could lose to Islam in a close decision, right? And still go down as the greatest of all time if Islam leaves the sport and he continues to fight on and win more fights. Islam's legacy, if it's close, right? Like if it's a Volk Islam 1 level fight, no one will even bat an eye. They'll be like, he won that shit anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see. Two Finger Mikey. First of all, moment of silence for Oliveira. I want to be active, and I think they should just turn him around quick, give him Gaethje to the death, give Gaethje the death he wants. Then Paddy versus Arman do number 1. So you want him to be active, Oliveira, and turn him around quick, give him Gaethje?
I don't think he's going to be fighting anytime soon, buddy. He just got.
I think he means Topuria. He wants Topuria to
Oh,
be active.
okay.
And then he goes up, kills Islam, and go, okay. So we're not going to ever say kills Islam again on this podcast, but yes, I get what you mean. Islam Makhachev defeats under the unified rules Islam Makhachev. Do Topuria versus Gaethje. Topuria versus Gaethje, I would not. I mean, listen, the only reason I would like Topuria versus Gaethje is because it would be so fun to watch Topuria knock out another one of these protect this man at all costs. He's our favorite guys. You know, it would be so sick to just watch Topuria go out there and just put Gaethje out of the sport forever, knock him out cold. You know, that would be amazing.
Only thing better would be Dustin Poirier, who, mind you, this could have been Dustin Poirier's fight to begin with. Nobody would have batted an eye at that. He had the closest fight with Islam, but he made such a big stink about how this next one's the last one. Legends only. I'm only fighting legends only for family. Okay? That he shot himself in the foot and took himself out of this equation entirely. And it easily could have ended up being him in this situation where he gets flatline KO'd in one round but gets the opportunity at the belt.
The problem is that the Nelk Boy type content creators of the world just love the Dustin Poiriers, the Justin Gaethjes, and I'm just ready for new interviews, right? I just want these guys to be out of the sport so we can stop seeing them circulating. Even
Dustin
John Jones.
Poirier is the UFC's jelly roll, as far as I'm concerned. Annoying.
Yeah, and Justin Gaethje is the UFC's jelly roll too.
They're each one half of jelly roll, since he is such a large individual.
So yeah, I mean, Topuria versus Gaethje I would look at that as, again, I'd look at that as a victory lap. I'd be like, Topuria's gonna hit a victory lap on Justin Gaethje. Beautiful. You know, the Paddy fight I see as a victory lap, but with great nervousness. I'm like, man, I love this guy so much. If he loses to Paddy, it would be like losing to Jake Paul. It would be like
who fought this weekend. God only knows how many people watched that, because I had no idea it was happening.
Bro, I promised myself I was done after the last one. I promised myself I would never watch another Jake Paul fight. I would never care, tune in, or bet on it, and I did just that this weekend. And he won by decision. And you know what's the funny part? People are saying like, "Oh, it's a fixed fight." It's like and then you get his manager defending, like the guy that used to work for the UFC as like the chief financial officer, accountant, and then
Big Mike.
Yeah, Nikita Bagdasarian or something like that. He like is like tweeting at the people who are just casually saying like, this shit's rigged. Like nobody actually believes it's rigged. What they mean, like they're just saying that it's like a money grab is what they mean. They mean it's like there's no stakes. We don't. It's a like they don't literally mean that there was a pre-agreed upon rule that Chavez was gonna fucking purposely lose. Like that's not what they mean. They mean like the odds were heavily in your favor, and
you're stacking the deck for yourself by fighting
just like
shaped guys.
Yeah, it's like why the feeling that they can't seem to reckon with is why am I watching this? Really, all they have to do is not watch it, and then they wouldn't complain. But that's where I'm at. I'm like, no, it wasn't fucking rigged. He was clear. Like it's just two mid to low level boxers, and they boxed, and it wasn't that exciting, and you feel ripped off. So you want to try to place that somewhere. The blame should be solely on yourself. You tuned in. Why do you care? You didn't know who Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was until you found out he was fighting Jake Paul, and now you're tuning in, very invested that he win. You know, it's like he's not gonna. And I don't know. I just, stop. No one feels worse than me. I tuned in hoping Jake Paul would knock Mike Tyson out. That was like, that's the worst place to be. I'm like, then you're rooting for the thing. I mean, I just was rooting for the world to make sense to me, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're rooting for a 60-year-old man to get fucking concussed.
I am not afraid of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I'm just saying. Like, I'll bet I push him. He falls. I'll bet I push him. He falls over. And all respect to the, but I'm just saying, like, and I'm talking just a push, not in a boxing match. So that's why I think people were a little, like,
Yeah. No,
and if you're out there telling me I shouldn't believe that I could push Mike Tyson at 60 years of age and he would fall over, what does that say about the youth of today that you want me to believe so little of myself that you're like, man, this guy should put himself in such a box where he's like, he couldn't push Mike Tyson over if he wanted to. You know what I mean? Like that. For me to have that belief, it's like Mike Tyson himself would want me to have that belief. He'd be like, you got to believe in yourself.
You're a killer. You're a marauder. You're
I like that. It's actually hyping me up when you talk like that. I'm close my eyes. Just hype me up as Mike Tyson for a second.
You're a killer. You're a marauder. You're a trained animal. You're uncaged. You gotta go and take their heart.
I like that. I really like that.
You know, you need to give me my flowers. I called on this podcast last week. I said Jacoby Smith is going to get a submission, the first submission of his career. Don't be surprised when he goes in there and submits Nico Price. Nico Price is dumb as a box of rocks, has no brains to get concussed. His brain doesn't rattle around in there because there is a lack of a brain in between his ears. And he gets submitted second round, Jacoby Smith. I would like my flowers. You called me an idiot. You said that was bad. You said that was a bad idea. You sat here
saying that.
You sat here smugly. You laughed and said, "Oh, gee willikers, Alex, no way that happens. He's never submitted anybody ever." And I said,
I did not say it like that. I think I said the reason the odds are so high is because it's literally never happened.
Yes. And I said, that's the best time.
Yes.
Remember,
his first and only submission in the UFC. You got it with
Don Imus versus Sadiq Youssef. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Prestige remembered it. And yes, exactly. It's like it's like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And when your whole thing is like, I'm going to troll everybody all the time. I'm going to be this big, like, jokester troll, like, you love to hate me type guy. People are never going to let you win. They're always going to try to discredit you. But it's like, you signed up for that.
I strictly
until there is a road to redemption where Chael Sonnen is the perfect model. Nobody was ever going to, nobody thought Chael was cute when he was doing what he was doing. Nobody. Trust me. When I was a fan of the sport, I was the biggest Anderson Silva fan. I was a wrestler, yet I hated Chael Sonnen. He came in, and I'm telling you, nobody was like, he's hilarious. I get his shtick. It's funny. They were all like very put off by it at first. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was. I know only
Americans and Brazilians. Everybody was put off by it.
I know only one person who was on Chael Sonnen's coattails from the beginning, and that's one of my old wrestling buddies. You know, you would have to go back a long time, and he was the only person, the literal only person who was like, no, this is hilarious. Chael's the man. I hope he beats Anderson Silva.
Even people who wanted him to beat Anderson weren't necessarily like, I think what he's saying is funny. It wasn't until we got a little bit of breathing room from like the Gracie era of
respect.
Yeah, the respect thing was like, you got to think during the time when Chael Sonnen was doing that to Anderson, people really admired Fedor Emelianenko. They really admired guys who were like stoic and like seemingly.
People hated Anderson Silva for showboating.
People hated him so much. I mean, and I didn't hate Anderson for showboating because I always thought, at that time, I was more like, what people do in the cage is fair game. Like, I always like when somebody did something in the cage. Like, I liked how Nick Diaz fought, how Anderson Silva fought, how Prince Nassim fought, all the shit. Now, but like the outside of the cage shit talk, there wasn't a precedent that had been set for that. So the only thing that people liked were badass things. Like people liked, like when you said something slick and badass, but they didn't like that in your face comic level stuff, So yeah. I guess my point is Jake Paul is just doing stuff that has never been done before, really. It's Andy Kaufman level hilarity that he's doing by constantly making everybody frustrated by being like, I'm gonna fight a UFC world champion. He's 2 weight classes below me and retired and needs a new hip. I'm gonna fight you know what I mean? And just doing this is Andy Kaufman. Like, you guys know who Andy Kaufman is? I'm from Hollywood. Go, if you're a fan of the show, you need to go on Amazon. You need to buy a physical DVD copy of I'm from Hollywood, a movie starring Andy Kaufman. It's the movie that this is from.
God man, woman, dog.
And that's Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman is going around with Jerry Lawler and doing a pro wrestling tour of him saying he can beat any woman in a wrestling match. And now you got to think, when this was happening, people really thought he was like for real. Like they thought he was like actually like beating up these women in the ring, and like he was the chauvinist. He's a comedian. He's doing a character. Jake Paul is the same thing. He's a comedian doing a character.
I honestly don't even know who those people are.
And he doesn't even know it. And Jake Paul probably, he knows it, but not to the level that I'm describing it. I bet Jake Paul has never seen I'm From Hollywood. You know? It would help him with his game.
He's fresh out of London, though.
But all he really needs to do is have a blood and guts war with an actual, like, he needs to overperform in a fight people think he's going to lose. Like, really think he's going to lose, you know?
Like he's got to go toe-to-toe with Canelo.
Exactly. Not even I mean, he needs a rival. Like, he needs a real rival that, like, people think, like, this will be the guy that beats him, has a close fight with him, has a trilogy with him. Like, he's at, like, a level where it's like, is he Pereira? Like, he needs his Pereira. Mm-hmm. He needs somebody to, like, and it's not Tommy Fury. And it should have never been Tommy Fury. You should have beat Tommy Fury in that first fight. Like, it's not Tommy Fury. Nobody respects Tommy Fury either. Like, to be like, well, Tommy Fury's a real boxer. It's like, no, like, it's still not what we're talking about. It needs to be like, I don't know. I really don't have it needs to be an MMA fight. Really. It needs to be an MMA fight. Because, seriously, I mean, it really needs to be a mixed martial arts fight. And if he does that, I think, and does some PFL stuff where he, like, competes in MMA.
I mean, hell, I'd pay for him versus Conor McGregor every Saturday of the year. If they ran that show every Saturday of the year, I'd probably watch it.
No. Honestly, it would be like, I don't know. I really don't know what Jake Paul could do at this point. But I'm saying there exists a road. He can revert. He can come out the other side as like a Chael Sonnen level figure where people go, man, I grew up watching Jake Paul do his thing, and that was some pretty good trolling. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not trolling at all. He says he's going to help the Askren family out. Ben Askren got his lung donor. Rest in peace to that dude. But
is that how he helped him? Did Jake go out and find a guy? And
but dude, apparently, Luigi was right, because Ben Askren's lung transplant, the health insurance company isn't covering it. So Jake Paul's going to have to come in and save the day.
I'll bet knowing Ben, he was just prepared to go out of pocket. And I'm sure he did go out of pocket. I don't even know that he needs donations. I don't think he needs donations.
I think he's having it set up, the GoFundMe.
I think that was them advertising the people who helped him get his, like, I think they were paying it forward. Yeah, like this is the organization that helps people, like, like hey, if you want to support Ben, donate to this because they're going to help other people that are in Ben's situation. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Ben's got more Bitcoin than you can shake a stick at. I don't think he needs money. But that being said, I'm not sure. I don't know the whole facts of the situation, but I really, like, can't wait to see Ben come back and talk about this. And I know he'll just triumph from this. Conor is back in the drug testing pool. Really breaking fucking news. I didn't know that. How do you know that, Carrie?
I'd love to. I'd love to see him back. I differ on that opinion. I definitely want to see Conor McGregor back.
Top 10 winner by method, YouTube picker, Two Finger Mikey coming in hot. Where did you record your picks? Okay, so here's what we need. We need to break down this card, UFC Nashville. I got some opinions. I saw some lines that we can beat. I know lines will move, and I have some picks that we want to get in early. So let's run through this card. It's a UFC Nashville offering. I don't know that this will be the final way the card shakes out. We'll definitely check in with you guys next week. But for now, it's a 12-fight offering in El Clasico. We got some really good fights. I mean, my guy Walter Volker is fighting. We got Beast Boy Davis. Chris Curtis coming in hot off. You see Alex, you see him and Sean Strickland jump that guy after the guy hit him with the sucket and stuff.
Oh my gosh, what fragile egos.
He kind of deserved it. I'm kind of with Chris and Sean. Like, what the fuck? We're rich. Like, no. Like, if I'm Sean Strickland, especially, I'm like, this is why I'm rich. To fucking pay. Like, when Conor McGregor punched that guy in Ibiza, my girlfriend's like, why would he do that? He's so rich. He's got so much to lose. I'm like, yo, that's why you get rich, so you can punch whoever you want and not worry about it. And be like, yeah, fucking pay him, whatever. Like,
give him a Rolex and call it a day.
Dude, it's residuals for McGregor. CBGBGB MMA, CCBG MMA. I just think of CBGBs. Rock Club in New York City. Like the stream, Your Mom's a Bop. I wish my mom was a bop, man. I really do. Wish she was bopping about, get in that bop house. Shit, I would even take the blonde house at this point. But sadly, my mom does not meet any of that criteria.
I need to get some water before we get into this.
Okay, well, when you get back, just go ahead and I'll talk through Gregory Rodriguez. You guys know I'm a huge fan of RoboCop. I mean, since the start of this podcast, we've loved RoboCop. He's a pandemic hero, always coming in with great fights. Bet on him a lot of the time. And I thought this fight was the tale of a guy coming back after 4 months where he's younger, yes, but he just took a life-changing beating from Cannonier. But what I took solace in was that it's a 3-round fight. Then you got Hermansson, who's almost 38 years old, coming in off of over a year-long layoff. What's going to be worse? Coming back a little bit too quick after a hard fight, or coming back a little old after a long layoff? So, in my opinion, Hermansson was just too fragile, and that no matter what damage he did to RoboCop was going to be able to touch him and break him. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, RoboCop took a ton of damage, but still was able to just touch him and drop him and knock him out, and I knew that could happen. Took RoboCop by knockout in my parlay. It was like plus around the same as Ilya first round knockout was RoboCop by knockout, which in hindsight it's like, duh, right? Plus 260 on both sides, pretty much. So what I didn't love was the follow up shot. I did get excited in the moment for the follow up shot. I will admit I was doing things where if Hermansson never got up, I would have had to repent. I was very excited to see that follow up shot in the moment. Because I bet Rodriguez by knockout, and that was like knockout plus, and I was like, woohoo! I was celebrating, I was dancing, I was doing my touchdown dance, and I love Jack Hermansson. Everybody loves Jack Hermansson, and after the mood settled a bit, I was like, that was inappropriate that he did that. I did get a little carried away celebrating, but Sean Brady touched that guy. Who? Oh, Sean barely touched that guy. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what do you think about RoboCop? Absolutely. A lot of people, my take on it, that's Herb Dean fault.
No, I couldn't agree more. RoboCop did everything within his rights. You got to keep going until the ref pulls you off. And
but kind of mean. Little unnecessary.
Super necessary.
I was telling them how I celebrated a little bit too hard when because I bet on him to win by knockout. I had him in a lot of parlays by knockout. He knocked him out, and I was celebrating a little bit hard. And then when the dust settled, I was like, Luke, don't spike the ball in Jack Hermansson's face like that. But I texted you guys because I knew Dan picked Hermansson, and actually Danny the Betman, he's been percolating in the group chat a little bit. He's been getting his courage again, and he goes,
eyeing a return.
He goes, RoboCop is going to be the one that busts your parlays, Luke. Hermansson's going to win. And I'm like, Dan, Hermansson's 38. Dan Hermansson's fucking coming off a year layoff. And Dan's like, no. And I look at his open bet sheet because Dan did update his open bet sheet this week. I look at his open bet sheet. He's got Hermansson and all these things and over 2.5 and all these things. I go, ha. So I sent Dan a picture of Hermansson getting hammer fisted. I said, super necessary. Because I knew it ruined all his bets. And, I'm still bitter about Dan not doing the show. So I wanted him to hurt. I wanted to hurt Dan. And so I wanted him to feel worse. I wanted him to look at Hermansson's lifeless body and go, somewhere Luke's very happy because he was right. And not only was he right, but he picked his guy to knock my guy out. And boy, did he. And boy, did he. No, did he. All right, let's break down this week's card.
Peyton Talbot.
Peyton Talbot, yeah.
Gotta mention him.
He was never more excited in that fight than when he had his butt right on that guy's face. I'll tell you that. When he sat on that guy's face, he had a big smile. Even Rogan had to say, Peyton's having fun now.
After his Pfeiffer fight, it just showed different guys hit hard. One lands right, it's a good night. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Joe Pfeiffer rocked him in the first round. He just kind of gassed himself going for the finish. If I'm
Joe Pfeiffer just doesn't have a winning instinct at the end of the day.
Apparently, he doesn't wrap his hands. Did you know that?
Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't have a championship mentality. He has a I've already won mentality. You know what I mean? Dana White treated him too good at the start and gave him, a Ferrari and gave him a fucking house and all that stuff. And now I really think that Joe he's in a Brian Ortega situation. He's already won, and he's happy to be here. And I don't know that he ever gets to a world championship fight.
So you're telling me he was fighting on the streets and Modelo gave him the heart of the champion?
Yep. But I mean, I just think
Brian Ortega was given a decision, and people often forget streets or MMA.
I mean, he couldn't finish Kelvin Gastelum. He lost to Jack Hermanson.
What happens if RoboCop gets a hold of him?
What happens if RoboCop gets a hold of Joe Pfeiffer? In fact, that's the fight I want to see next. What happens if Jared Cannonier gets a hold of Joe Pfeiffer?
Jared Cannonier is the guy that nobody.
What happens if Caio Barrio? What happens if Carlos Pratis? That's 170, but yeah.
Yeah. All dangerous men, all dangerous fights for anybody, not just Joe Pfeiffer.
Not just Joe Pfeiffer. All right, so let's break down UFC Fight Night Nashville. First fight of the night. If we forgot anything that we need to talk about from last week, let us know, guys. Peyton Talbot, as Alex said, did well.
Did you see any of this Tom Aspinall stuff?
What?
Just his press tour, being the champ.
Not yet. No, I haven't seen any of it. Anything worth note?
Just he was just he's super likable, and it begs the question, like, who's he gonna fight? Like, there's no one to fight at heavyweight. Marcin,
I think Pereira. They're gonna give him Pereira.
I hope so. That'd be awesome. But he probably smashes Pereira.
Alex and I both went 6 out of 11 on last week's card. We went 3 out of 5 on our Triple B certified picks. That brings us to 11 out of 14 correct over the last 2 events. 11 out of 14 correct Double P certified picks over the last event. With that said, let's get into Lewis versus Teixeira. Mike Boy Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. Mitch Ramirez, 32 years old. Mike Beast Boy Davis, 32 years old. 5'11", Mitch Ramirez, 6 foot even. Beast Boy, 72-inch reach for Beast Boy, 71 for Ramirez. Similar matchup, but I feel like Beast Boy's got a little bit more physicality. He's coming off a loss to Faraz Zayam 4 months ago. Before that, and I picked Faraz Zayam to win that fight. Before that, he submitted Natan Levy, beat Vladislav Borshev, but hasn't really fought more than 5 times in the last 6 years. Not a lot of activity out of Beast Boy. 11-3, 32 years old, taking on 8-2, same age. Mitch Ramirez lost to Thiago Moises by leg kicks a year and 3 months ago. Guys, it's Beast Boy all day for me. First of all, you haven't fought in a year and 3 months. The last time you fought, you got TKO'd by leg kicks. You're fighting Mike Beast Boy Davis, who nothing but respect for him. Everything except his activity, really. Ramirez, I think, gets bounced out of the UFC with a loss to Mike Davis.
Yep, got to go with Mike Davis here. He's super underrated, and I think that Faraz Zayam fight, he kind of had a bit of ring rust. You kind of could see him coming on later into that fight, kind of getting his rhythm back. I think that this is going to be a great bounce-back fight for Mike Davis to get him back to his winning ways.
Beautiful. Well, next we got Kennedy and Chukwi versus Walter Walker. Walter
People's main
Walker,
event.
people's main event. One of my favorite fighters right now, Walter Walker. If you remember when Dricus du Plessis submitted Israel Adesanya, I had a like $3,600 winning night that night. I won like $3,000. And one of the parlays I had included an 11 or 12 to 1 Walter Walker by submission against one Junior Tafa 10 months ago. Junior Tafa was submitted by Walter Walker. It was at 11, 12, 13 to 1, something like that. And that to me was perfect. I said, hey, Junior Tafa is the guy who doesn't defend takedowns, doesn't defend submissions, doesn't do anything off the ground, is a white belt. Walter Walker has a Dagestani beard, is Brazilian, and trains with Dagestanis. He's going to take this guy down and submit him very easily. He did. Same exact thing happened with Dontel Mays, and again, I picked him to submit Dontel Mays, and again, he did that. I'm going 3 in a row, and I'm saying Walter Walker submits Kennedy and Chukwi. It's a 3P. It's a triple P. It's Walter Walker, the bigger, the stronger. Everything except, he's going to sacrifice a 5-inch reach, which is exactly why I think he gets the submission. I think he gets this fight. He closes that distance, gets this fight to the ground, is on top. The only thing is, could he ground and pound submit him? Of course. But I think Kennedy and Chukwi will give his back, and Walter Walker will take it, if not a leg. Walter Walker by submission. But just to be safe, depending on the odds, probably also Walter Walker by finish, because I could also see him hitting him with them hammer fists from the mount, from the side control, from the S mount, and getting the win. So give me Walter Walker all day, all night by finish.
Couldn't agree more. Love Walter Walker. Love everything he's been doing. I think he should be undefeated. I think he won that fight against Lucas Bresky. Give me Walter Walker, and I'll tell that as well. Walter Walker by submission. I think that's very likely.
Beautiful. Okay, so Chris Curtis, 37 years old, versus Max Payne Griffin, 39 years old. Combined 23 losses between the two of them. These two guys are both coming off a loss. Max Payne Griffin got submitted by Michael Chiesa with a rear naked choke. I predicted that Michael Chiesa would win by submission. Chris Curtis lost a split decision to Brendan Allen, got TKO'd by Roman Kopylov in a fight he would have lost by decision anyway. Claims it was an early stoppage, but really got put out, got concussed many times in that fight, got the shit beat out of him by Roman Kopylov. To me, I do think Chris Curtis is the better fighter here. I think that Max Payne does not possess the skills to get him to the ground. I don't think he possesses the skills to beat him in the striking department. Give me Chris Curtis. Not really interested in betting on either of these guys, but I will definitely take Chris Curtis here. Chris Curtis to win, possibly by finish, because if you can go 3 rounds with Roman Kopylov, you should have no problem finishing Max Griffin. So lack of volume will prevent me from getting there with Chris Curtis, but I will take Chris Curtis to win and possibly by finish.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me cause to pause is, he's going to be fighting at welterweight. I'm trying to look back on his last welterweight fight. It wasn't since 2021. It's been a while. That's a pretty big weight cut, but he's a pretty short guy. I think he should have an easy time with it, or an easier time with it.
Alex, he's had 50 fights, right? I mean, he's had 43 fights, and he trains at Extreme Couture. He knows how to get his weight down. I mean, that is not going to be an issue here.
It's not a matter of is he going to make the weight. It's a matter of is he going to be able to perform at the highest level at this weight class.
But here's the thing. He doesn't have to perform at the highest level to beat Max Payne Griffin. Max Payne Griffin got submitted by Michael Chiesa in his last fight. He lost a split decision to Neil Magny. He only beat Tim Means by split decision. The fact that a year and 4 months ago he was able to beat Jeremiah Wells, I think is just a testament to the very peak of his absolute ability, catching Jeremiah Wells on a bad day, because I don't really think Jeremiah Wells is a worse fighter than him. But, I mean, Max Payne Griffin, circa 2021, 4 years ago, got the decision win against Carlos Condit. I remember watching that fight. That was Carlos's return fight. That was his 13th loss, right? I mean, there's really nobody else to speak of that he's beaten at a very high level. And I think Chris Curtis, if you look at his wins, or at least the fights that he thought he won. I mean, he thought he beat Brendan Allen. He thought he beat, what's his name? Hermanson, Gastelum, Really, these are two similar fighters. This is excellent matchmaking, I will say that. But I just think Chris Curtis, a little bit younger, a little bit still more in his prime, and more tools to win in the areas that Max Payne is just not competent enough in to exploit. Like, if Max Payne was Michael Chiesa, I'd take Michael Chiesa because he's going to be able to get Chris Curtis down. And that's saying a lot because I have no respect for Michael Chiesa. But I'm just saying, like, if there were a path, I would easily fade Chris Curtis. I just don't see Max Payne ever getting Chris Curtis to the ground, and he's going to be stuck on the feet with him, and he's going to get put away.
Chris Curtis, known petty guy, has commented on the podcast before, has been rude to us in the past.
When we were nice to him. He was commenting on the podcast like when we were being nice and picking him. And now, he can't even be on social media.
Curtis
He
doesn't
doesn't
mix
mix
things
things
up.
Right, you know who else doesn't mix things up a lot? Ilya Topuria. He's never thrown a body kick, never thrown a head kick. And if you find yourself in a fight where no one's going to exploit that, and this is exactly that type of fight. I mean, is Max Payne Griffin going to leg kick decision Chris Curtis for 3 rounds? Maybe. Fucking maybe. He very well may be. He may do. He might do, as MMA Guru would say. He might do. I just more so see Curtis connecting and landing. I see this more as a RoboCop versus Hermanson fight when both of them are old.
Yeah.
Or RoboCop 9 years in the future. I think Payne Griffin is kind of like where Hermanson's at in his career right now. Maybe a little bit more hardy, but a little bit older and with less skill, right?
Yeah, I'm taking Chris Curtis begrudgingly. Don't really like him, but gonna take him in this fight. I think he's gonna win.
Uppercut, knee to the body, follow-up shots to a shell Griffin. That's how this fight ends. Punch,
nice.
punch, uppercut, knee to the body. He goes down, elbows, punches. Ah! Watch.
All right. Beautiful. That'd be great. This next fight, not as straightforward. We've got Jake Matthews, former tough winner, versus Chitty Bang Bang Njokuani. Luke, how do you
I
see
always
this
thought
one?
Chitty and Njokuani and Kennedy and Njoku were brothers. I'm just now seeing their names on the same card and going, those are 2 different last names.
No. Yeah, 2 totally different last names.
Wow.
This guy looks like the best friend in Psych, and Kennedy and Njoku looks like something else.
Yeah. Well, who do you got in this one?
I'd like to hear your opinion. I think this is a tough fight to call.
Well, it's interesting because I really value the last few fights that Celtic Kid had more than I do in Njokuani's last few fights, right? So Francisco Prado, he beats him 4 months ago, never made it look close. Phil Rowe beats him a year ago, and then loses to Michael Moraes, who's still undefeated. Meanwhile, around the same time, Njokui's taken on Reese McKee, beats him by split decision, beats Jared Gooden by decision, and then beats Aleski dos Santos. We're talking 22 losses between his last 3 opponents compared to 6 losses in Celtic Kid's last 3 opponents, right? So there's that. There's also the 6-year age gap, this fight being at 170, and Njokuani missed weight in his last attempt at 170 by a pound and a half. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage, but I think that ultimately the Celtic Kid's competent enough with the striking to close the distance, take this guy down at will. The threat of the takedown will open up his hands, and I think Jake Matthews wins by submission or decision.
Yeah, that's kind of where I lean. I hardly know her. But Chitty Njokuani can throw super hard, super fast strikes. And I just worry about like a body kick coming in, hitting Matthews, kind of just my observation.
Curtis pisses us off too. Pisses us off too. Don't worry. I'm not picking him because I love, I picked Kai Kara France. I can't stand the guy. I lost $500 on the guy. Would have won $521 if I didn't bet $500 on Kai Kara France. So
there you go. But yeah, I do think Chitty is a live dog in this one. I think that he can land damaging strikes, put Jake Matthews away. But Jake Matthews is a way better fighter. It wouldn't make any sense going with Chitty and Njokuani. I just think this matchup is weird, where he can land a liver kick, kind of shock Jake Matthews' system, and then end up finishing him with a barrage of punches while Jake Matthews is shelled up. Gonna go with Matthews. Don't love it. Think that this is a bad stylistic matchup for him, but you got to go with the guy who you think is a better, more rounded, well-rounded fighter. Next
beautiful.
up,
We got 2 lady fights back to back, and then and then all men fights from there. So, Alex, do a detailed breakdown of Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. I'm going to go refill my beverage. I'll be right back to give my,
Yeah,
my pick.
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we got 8 people watching. I better get 8 likes right now. If you're watching this right now, give us a like, give us a comment. I really don't care, but other people say you should do it. CBGB, for example, says you should do it. So please do. Please like it. Give us a like, and no shaming the bots.
Yeah, so we got Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. Both of these ladies are little ladies. They're very little ladies. I think that they would be better off if there was a bit of a smaller weight class than 115. They're tiny little lasses. Klein obviously stumbled against Jasmine Judavicius, a weight class up. That's a really tough fight, but she looked amazing against Victoria Dudikova. I'm going to go with Fatima Klein here. I think that she's got a really good game. She's good on the ground. She's good standing. She can kind of mix it up. Not really too sold on Super Melly. She had a pretty decent performance against Alice Ardeline, who looked great in her last fight. Looked like Floyd Mayweather out there. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Fatima Klein. I think she's got more dimensions to her game, and she'll be able to win this one. For the next ladies' fight, we got Meatball Lauren Murphy versus Eduarda Mora. Lauren Murphy, she doesn't really do anything super well, but she does hit like a truck. She's not that fast. She kind of just plods forward, takes a lot of damage. I'm gonna go with Eduarda Mora, just because of how old Meatball Molly is here, or Meatball Lauren Murphy. She's been in the game for a really long time, taking a lot of damage in a lot of these fights that she's lost. She is wearing it. Even the fights that she wins, she's wearing a serious amount of damage. Gonna go with Eduarda Mora. Not really. If I was gambling on this card, I would not touch either of these two fights. Maybe the Fatima Klein, but I would imagine that she's going to be like a minus 400 favorite. She's stellar, in my opinion. I guess I'll just go through the next one while I'm waiting for Luke. We got Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier. Now this fight is interesting. Nate the Train, baby. He has more dog in him than anyone in the UFC. All of the dogs in the UFC combined don't make the bark this boy has. I love Nate Landwehr. I just think Morgan Charrier is way too dynamic of a striker, way too hard hitting, and will find a way to win this fight. Where Nate Landwehr's doggedness isn't going to be enough just to get him through this one. I know Charrier had that split decision loss against Chepe Mariscal, who also has a lot of doggedness in him as well. But I think Chepe has a higher level of skill than Nate Landwehr, where that doggedness does make a big difference, where Nate Landwehr's skill set isn't as broad or as polished as Chepe Mariscal's skill set, which is why that doggedness does kind of be like the thing to tip the scales. This one, on the other hand, don't think Nate Landwehr's skill set will be enough to get rid of Morgan Charrier. He throws crazy kicks, lightning fast, super powerful striker. The only thing that he has to worry about is rocking Nate the Train early, gassing out, and Nate the Train coming back for him like a bat out of hell, because we've seen him do that before. We know he's got the heart of a lion. He's not afraid to get into a gunfight. So as long as Charrier is patient, tries to keep Nate in the end of his strikes, doesn't force the finish against a guy with that much doggedness, I think that he'll do just fine. And be able to get his hand raised at the end of that one.
I'm back. Sorry, I'm back.
No problem. I picked Klein, I picked Mora, and I picked Charrier. So
Perfect. Okay,
balls in
so
your court.
yeah, I'm going with Klein as well. Not really too much to think about. Mora as well, not really too much to think about. And then the next one, Morgan Charrier. Again, big Nate Landwehr guy myself, but too inconsistent. Loses to Dan Ige, wins against Jamal Emmers, loses to Doohoo Choi. Didn't like how he looked in that Doohoo Choi fight. It was only 6 months ago. He's 8 years younger than Charrier. Charrier is a winner, finds a way to win. Even the Nate Wood fight, I picked Nate Wood to win that one, but it was close, and I just know how good Nate Wood is. So I'm good with Charrier. Yeah, all day, all night. Love it. I think he beats Nate Landwehr handedly.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear.
But yeah, Nate trained in Nashville. He is a Nashville guy. He's a Tennessee guy.
Yeah.
He's OP. Yeah, actually, I think check in with me in a week, guys. You might hear me change. I got to hear some Nate Landwehr interviews. I got to hear how he's feeling, because you bring a Frenchman over to Tennessee. This ain't Louisiana, This is Tennessee, and Nate Landwehr might be the only 10 I see that night. So, man, I came in here really thinking Morgan Charrier, but I forgot Nate Landwehr. You know what? What are the odds here? What are the odds in this fight?
I'm not sure.
Well, you start off the next breakdown here, and I'll look up the odds.
All right, we got Junior or Justin Taffa. We never know with these guys. They might try to pull a good old.
No, that's not what I. Oh yeah. Sorry.
They might try to pull a good old switcheroo right at the midnight hour. These two guys, they're always up to no good. The Taffa brothers.
The old take my sister on a date scam. Nate Landwehr only plus 190 to Morgan Charrier's minus 250. They've really lined it well. I think that it will move. I think Charrier will probably become a minus 300 favorite. But Nate Landwehr, those are just juicy enough to think it's in his home state. He's the type of guy who that type of thing matters. It's tempting enough. I will say that. It's not too ridiculous, right? To where you go, I must be crazy for thinking it. It's kind of like, ooh, I'm sharp here,
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we got Junior Taffa versus Tuco Tokos. Luke, take us away. I don't want to say what I'm going to say for this fight.
For me, it's Tuco Tukos all day, and I think he's at 7 years older. I think he's the underdog here. This fight's taking place at 205, so Taffa, his last weigh-in was 241. This fat fuck's not going to make weight.
Interesting.
This fat fuck's not going to make weight. I think Tuco Tukos can beat the fuck out of this guy, knock him out. Give me Tuco Tukos all day.
Taffa pulled out a few months ago for this fight, May 3rd. They were supposed to originally fight. I'm going to go with Taffa here. Call me crazy. I just, I hate him. I don't think he's good. I think he's terrible, but Tuco Tokos not good either. So what do you want me to do here? I'm picking.
But Navajo Sterling is good, and Navajo Sterling could knock out Taffa, and he couldn't knock out Tuco Tukos.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sold on Navajo Sterling myself. And Omar Sy just got absolutely schooled in his last fight against Alonzo Menafield. So that loss doesn't age well either. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Taffa. I'm not just gonna pick Tuco because I hate Taffa and I hate the Taffa brothers, and I think that they're up to no good. And I think that somebody should look into their doings. I think that they're pulling some strings. I think that they're doing some trickery. Twin tricks. I don't even know if they're twins, but they're pulling tricks. They're pulling schemes. I know it. I just have a wild hunch that these guys are doing some type of high-level scheming. Keep an eye out for it. but I'm going with Junior Taffa, begrudgingly. Make a begrudging parlay of the night because I'm going to have more than just those two begrudging picks in Chris Curtis and Junior Taffa, former enemies into guys that I'm aligning myself with. Next up, we got Calvin Kattar versus Steve Mean Machine Garcia. Is that his nickname? Mean Machine Garcia. Got to work on the name, Steve. I think that this is as obvious as anything has ever been. I think that Steve Garcia goes out there and beats the shit out of Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar sucks. Calvin Kattar gets punched in the face for a living. All he does is take punches. He told Max Holloway that he was going to show him what varsity was like, and then got stunted on, had absorbed 950 strikes that fight alone. I think his time is gone. I think that he stinks. I think that he was never really all that good. Steve Garcia, this is going to be a defining moment for Steve Garcia. This is Steve Garcia's biggest fight, highest level, highest named opponent that he's ever fought. And although it usually takes the top of the division guy to get rid of Calvin Kattar is going to get got here, and Steve Garcia is going to emerge into the rankings and give a lot of people what for. I think he's only been in the octagon for like 5 minutes in his last 5 fights. He's an absolute demon out there. Give me Steve Garcia. Give me Steve Garcia emphatically. Give me Steve Garcia by knockout.
What a world to live in if that were the case. No, I'm on the other side of this one. I think Calvin Kattar is going to win. I think he's a slight underdog as I saw it, and I think that is going to change. I'm going to try to grab Calvin Kattar at slight dog odds. Look, he's got 4 losses in a row, you know. Steve Garcia's got 5 knockout wins in a row in the UFC. Obviously, this is a high watermark moment for Steve to be a favorite against Calvin Kattar. Obviously, this is a buy low moment for Calvin Kattar. He is 37 years of age, 4 years older than Steve Garcia at a weight class that does not favor the guys who are, you know, that old. But I'm going to go with Calvin Kattar to outclass Steve in the striking department. With the boxing, it's a must-win situation for Calvin Kattar. Steve Garcia is going to face more adversity in this fight than he's faced in his last 5. For that reason, I'm going with Calvin Kattar.
Hell no. Calvin Kattar's doing DraftKings promotions now. He's on adverts with fucking John Anik and the Pizza Boy.
Yes. You guys are surprised. I bet you guys are really surprised to see me aligning with Calvin here.
Nope.
I'm part extreme fan, part practitioner, and part actuarial scientist. And when I see a line that doesn't make sense, I let the public be my guide. I say, wait a minute, what is it? I'm different. I'm the one who knocks. I'm the one who knows. And I'm going to be the one who sees through the bullshit and picks Dricus du Plessis to knock out Robert Whittaker and picks Calvin Kattar to upset Steve Garcia. Because I don't know. I just feel that I've seen this story before. Calvin has fallen just enough to get a win. Steve has risen high enough just to get a loss. This is the highest of Steve's career. It's the lowest of Calvin's career. I don't think Steve Garcia is a future headliner or world champion, sadly. I think this is the one that knocks him back down to high mid status, which is where he belongs, I believe. And listen, I love Steve Garcia. I call him Nifty Steve.
Nifty Steve Garcia.
That's such a better nickname than Steve Mean Machine Garcia. Nifty Steve Garcia.
Yeah, wasn't there
Nifty
another?
Steve. Yo, you watching Nifty Steve fight? Nifty Steve. That should be his name, Nifty Steve.
All right. Well, next up, we got 2 guys who have been a bit of a thorn in our side, I'd say. Austin Lane versus Vitor Petrino. Vitor Petrino taking his first bout at heavyweight in the UFC. Surprising for me, I didn't necessarily think that Vitor Petrino was a guy who would have needed to move up or would have performed better moving up. But he must just see the heavyweight division is so shallow, so shallow. You've got four guys that are hard to beat. Curtis Blades, Volkov, Tom Aspinall. Is there another guy?
Who?
Cyril Gahn, maybe?
Who's hard to beat at heavyweight?
Yeah.
Alexander Romanov?
He's not in the UFC anymore.
Yeah, travesty. Bullshit.
He's in the PFL and he got kneed in the balls and stopped the fight. So he's back on his bullshit. I like that somewhere in the world Alexander Romanov is getting.
I'd like to see Big X the Plug in the UFC heavyweight division.
He could make his way into the top 5. Realistically.
Big X the Plug versus Shake Collier. Big X the Plug versus Chase Sherman. Big X the Plug versus
Dave Blunt's super heavyweight.
Dave's not ready.
Dave's not ready to.
He needs a few more months with Bradley Martin.
Dave's not ready to stand up. Dave
needs a few more months with Bradley Martin, and he'll be good.
Yeah, but both of these guys, thorn in my side.
This is an easy fight to pick. It's Vitor Petrino. You have to go with the guy who's 10 years younger. You have to go with the guy who, first of all, this fight is at light heavyweight.
It's
at heavyweight. Okay, so it's at heavyweight. So, Lane.
The size alone of Austin Lane is going to be like, this is a guy in Vitor Petrino who got choked out in the first round by Anthony Smith. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. That should never happen. Ever. He got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. Who, I'm a Dustin Jacoby guy, but you got to think Austin Lane is going to be throwing some heat.
If Vitor Petrino loses to Austin Lane, he should be cut from the UFC.
He should be. If you ask me, he should have been cut as soon as that guillotine. As soon as he tapped to a guillotine 2 minutes in against Anthony fucking Smith.
The UFC has a vested interest in selling us on the fact that Anthony Smith is a future Hall of Famer.
And
for whatever fucking reason,
I totally
for whatever reason they owe Anthony Smith, they have to.
I totally agree with Michael Bisping. And first of all, Michael Bisping is a total douche and classic high school football fucking quarterback. I could have went D1 if I didn't tear my knee up. He is just a complete douchebag. It's no wonder that every single one of his fucking co-hosts leave his ass after 6 months because he's such a dickhead in totality. I kind of feel for Anthony Smith a little bit now after seeing the way he treats people in real life who are his coworkers, and after hearing Luis J. Gomez, what he had to say about working with Bisping. It changed my opinion. It changed my opinion entirely about the Anthony Smith situation. And if Michael Bisping's bullying you all the time, I wouldn't give him a fucking call either. I'd no call, no show his ass too. I would be one plane ticket out of there after the fight night we just fucking commentated together. I'd be out of there like a bat out of hell. Act like I'd never even met the guy. Anywho, I completely agree with Bisping and DC about the Hall of Fame, where guys like Kelvin Gastelum, just because they had a cool fight once, shouldn't be known as Hall of Famers in the same way that a Bisping or a DC or a Royce Gracie or an Anderson Silva or a Jose Aldo. And they brought up a good point. When you bring up guys who you think are going to be in the Hall of Fame, you say, well, he's better than Cowboy Cerrone. Why in God's name is Cowboy Cerrone in the UFC Hall of Fame?
If he's the floor, anybody can get in.
Anybody can get in.
You're going to have Cowboy Cerrone. You're not going to have Nate Diaz.
Exactly.
You're going to have Cowboy Cerrone. You're not going to have Kenny Florian.
Yeah. Bingo.
You're going to have Cowboy Cerrone. You're not going to have Uriah Faber.
Yeah. And Uriah Faber is in the Hall of Fame. Another guy who probably Does he deserve it? Probably not,
More than Cowboy Cerrone. Uriah Faber at one point was a household name in a fucking subdivision of the UFC because it was the only place to have a belt at that weight class. And I had
He held it
people
for like 10 years.
I mean, dude, like at a time when the UFC wasn't even that popular, people knew who the fuck Uriah Faber was as the 135-pound champ. Like a lot of people knew who he was. And for him to be a breakout star when nobody was paying attention to even the UFC, and then to go into the UFC, fight for world titles, like I think that.
And the UFC added his weight class way after Uriah was in his prime.
He had already fought Mike Brown with 2 broken fucking hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a 5-round fight. Like, Uriah Faber deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Cowboy Cerrone is a fucking quitter who, like, is an exhibitionist. Like, does well when the going gets rough. Cowboy Cerrone does not get going. Like, that should be said. Like, you know how they say, a cowboy always says when the going gets tough get going. That cannot be said about Cowboy Cerrone. When the going gets tough, he pukes in the locker room, he shits himself on the walkout, and he gets his ass beat in the octagon. That's what happens to Cowboy Cerrone when the going gets tough. And it can get tough at the fucking weigh-ins everywhere. Nate Diaz flicked his hat off his head, and he was broken.
He went Rose Namajunas. He was about to not show up.
He was quivering. And then that was the most – I remember where I was watching that fight, my friend's basement. After a great day, I can feel the air conditioning now. And, you're half wet in the basement, and it's cold and it feels great. And you're watching a fight. And I'm telling my friends, you got to see this guy, Nate Diaz. You got to see this guy, Nate Diaz. He's my fucking dude. Like, he's going to fucking kill this guy. It's going to be amazing. Before I ever bet on anything, before I was even fucking 16 years old. And Nate Diaz beats the fuck out of him in a very entertaining fight. And then when Cowboy gave him the finger at the beginning of the fight when they were going to shake hands, and it started out throwing the fucking bar, like, yeah, motherfucker, you got to come out for one more round of this ass whooping, and what fucking that. And all Cowboy did was he nodded like, I deserve this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, yep. Like, you, like, yeah, because he knows. Yeah. Anyway.
Off tangent, but
look,
yes,
I love Cowboy Cerrone. I love Cowboy Cerrone. It's a shame he has to take these stray bullets, but he got plenty of fight night bonuses, plenty of main events, and plenty of sponsorships. He doesn't need to be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Guys who have fucking put it all on the line and stayed in there when it was going bad for them deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he got the fight stopped from Tony Ferguson. Like, he bailed out with McGregor. You know what I mean? Like, he bails the fuck out. Like, anyway.
He got knocked out by his shoulder to McGregor.
Fucking little McGregor. Little fucking McGregor. And what did DP do? Dustin Poirier broke him in half. Like, but my point is, though, Dustin Poirier, like, in the same way that Cerrone gets this, like, he'll always fight on. It's like, no. Or he's not afraid of anything. No. That's how I feel about people being like, and Dustin Poirier, class act, gentleman. I'm like, do you see how he wins? He has never had a win that he hasn't stomped around, gloated, pissed on a guy when he's down.
Seeing him talk to Dan Hooker while Dan Hooker is getting fucking thrown into the back of an ambulance.
Dude, yeah. Like, he's
you're going to knock my head off, huh, Dan? You're going to knock my head off, huh? Yeah. How'd that go for you? Not as good, huh? And, like, Eugene Behrman's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? We're trying to get to the hospital. Get away. Scurry, shoot.
Yeah.
He's lucky Izzy Adesanya wasn't back there.
I can even like that type of energy in some areas. Like, you're Izzy Adesanya. You finally knocked Pereira out. You put 3 fucking arrows in him, and then you taunt his son.
You all right. Polo Costa on the back.
Yeah, cool. I like it. Yeah, let's go. Like, that's competitive. Like, but McGregor's got a broken leg. You're doing the $1 billion strut. Chandler, you beat him, and you're going up to him. You're putting your fingers in my mouth, huh? First of all, it's supposed to be like an unwritten thing in fighting where it's like a lot of shit goes on that the fans don't know about. You don't need to call people out on it in front of everybody. It's like,
you don't got to break kayfabe.
Don't do K. Yeah, exactly. And you're shooting on fucking Chandler after you already won. Like, just fucking the classy move is to not.
The problem is it's not that.
And then talk about it on every fucking podcast. talk and be like, and Chandler thinks he's this good guy. You think you're a fucking good guy.
Yes, that's the problem. It's not that he does this. If he was doing this, Nate Diaz, fuck you. I don't even care. I'm gangster. You suck. Like if he had that attitude and kept that energy all the time, it would be a whole different story. But he's this hypocrite, fake nice guy who goes out there. Oh, I'm just
my Hillary Clinton Foundation tax fucking.
Oh, I'm just a humble hot sauce salesman trying to help the youth of Louisiana.
Me and Jelly Roll. And if you got any sick kids, we'll help them. Shut the fuck, dude. And Diaz, he keeps the kids at home.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps the wife at home. I've always respected that about Nate Diaz. He's never once tried to be fucking flipping flapjacks with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg. Like, and even if he did, that'd be fine. But the point is, when it comes to his fights, when it comes to his fight week, when it comes to his mentality, he knows it's like, yo, we don't need to make this into the Today Show. We don't need to make this into women's soccer. It's fucking fighting in a cage. Like, you don't want the kids there when you're Jack Hermanson. You don't want the kids there when you're Charles Oliveira. Like, that's not fucking cool. You don't want the kids there when you're Anthony Smith leaking out of your face, challenging guys to fight in the audience. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. And guess what? It's not cool for the kids. Like, be a fucking responsible adult. Like, you don't, sometimes it's like, well, I love fucking Motley Crue, and I'm going to bring my kids to the Motley Crue concert. Look, put the CD on in the car, bro. But you bring your kids to a Motley Crue concert, they're getting secondhand high off weed, watching people take their tits out. It's on you. It's not fucking.
Dude, I saw some woman take
Motley Crue's fault.
Her kid to a fucking her little daughter to a Suicide Boys concert, and I was like, call child services. This is not a place. This is not the place for a child. Okay, get out of here.
And look, you know, I'm a bit of a hypocrite. I've gone to some concerts when I was in my youth, obviously, but it's like, my point is, I didn't, like, you do a brutal ass fucking thing that you reap the benefit of the attention. Like, it can be just that. It doesn't always need to be a family affair. It doesn't always need to be, how do I monetize my family? How do I get my, you know, and by the way, Ilya Topuria, not saying he does that at all. Like, that is fucking him being himself, and his kids are a little bad. You know what his kid said to him? Ilya Topuria's kid comes in the octagon, he goes, Dad, when you did the punch, like, why didn't you go uppercut? You should have went uppercut. He's like, oh, okay, I'll show. It's like, yo, he just knocked the guy out in half a round, and his kid's giving him critiques. Like, that's.
Did you see the star power that kid has when they pan to him in the crowd, and he
had that spinning back elbow I was showing the little kid at the baptism. I was like, yo, I'm like, damn. I'm like, good thing I showed him that spinning back elbow, because Ilya showed him.
He's shadowboxing. He sees his dad. He goes and winks at him. Like, that's aura, dude. That kid has more aura than I'll ever have in my entire life.
Show me a man, show me his children, and show me how they behave, and then I will say, yo, that's, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, like, it's real shit. You know, you can tell, like, that he is his kid's hero. Like, that, and Ilya Topuria is my boyfriend. I love Ilya Topuria. I would do anything for the man. If he called me right now and said, Luke, I need you, I'm at the airport, I'm there, Ilya. I'm there. You got soldiers everywhere. All respect to the king. Short king of all time. Biggest. How tall is Ilya Topuria? Let's look this up. Before we break down the co-main event. Ilya Topuria stands, let's see, 5'7" tall. 5'7". Short king Ilya Topuria.
How does he find clothes? God doesn't make a lot of 5'7".
They're all custom, baby. It's all custom.
God doesn't make a lot of 5'7" guys who weigh 200 pounds, you know?
You know what's funny, too? People were like, oh, Patty was so much bigger than him. Guys, Patty was wearing shoes.
I mean,
Patty was standing fucking barefoot. Like, go stand next to your wife when you're barefoot and she's in shoes. You'll be like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, and then you're going to run into the fucking dresser and get head kicked by the dresser.
Dude. You buy dressers from IKEA. This is from fucking Pottery Barn.
Okay. Nonetheless, I no dresser is head level. I don't have to put the little rubber corners on the end just in case. So I don't lose an eyeball. You know.
Patty the Batty is listed at 5'10", 3 inches taller than Ilya. Just
Yeah,
to let
he's about
everybody
the same
know.
size as
And if you're under
Charles.
6 foot, you're short.
Fact.
And I like that Ilya was like, I'm going to put my nuts on your forehead. It's like, that's good that he said that because now he beat him to it. Like, because that would have been what Patty would have said. But he's like, I'm going to say it. And then he can't say it. And McGregor you see McGregor liked it. He was like, Patty's going to have a 3-inch height advantage, a 4-inch reach advantage over Ilya. That's if you believe, the measurements they take. But did you see that McGregor was like, well done, Ilya. Well done. Well done. He was like, and I like the part about putting your nuts on his forehead. He's like, he was like, that was beautiful. Brilliant.
I love the balls on my mouth.
McGregor's the man. Anybody who doesn't want to see McGregor fight is a liar. McGregor is the coolest guy ever. John Anik wants to put everyone in the Hall of Fame. Donald Cerrone, Jim Miller.
Well, listen, Kerry, I also kind of thought Jim Miller maybe yes because of and I guess that would have gotten Donald Cerrone. His entrance would have been at the time that he was entered. He had like the most wins, most fights, most this. And I always thought like, yeah, of course, that's a record like that, like Derek Lewis, like knockout. If you come into the UFC where knockouts are like the most valuable thing to any spectator, and you have the most of that thing, you've ended the fight the most. One of the Gracies said this. They said, if I knock you out, that's me saying I win. If you tap out, that's you saying I win. You know what I mean? And like, if you just go in there and you say every time I fucking win, and you put them down every time, and you do the most of that more than anybody in UFC history, I believe that should get you in the Hall of Fame. But what DC said was he was like, well, records get broken, and then you have nothing else that's but you can still put in there in their little plaque. As of their induction, had the record, and this is why they were inducted. They had the record for the most knockouts. Like over a 20-year history, they've broke 25-year history. They beat a record. They established a record. It might have been, and you can always put it on the thing, broken by this guy, whatever, right? But he said you shouldn't get in based on time served. Because I would have said Jim Miller should be in, just based. But he's like, he's never fought for a title. He did, but he never won. Like he has no other. He fought for a title against Benson Henderson, right? Yeah. Maybe.
I don't think Jim Miller fought against Benson Henderson for the title. I don't think he ever got like ranked in the top 5.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I kind of agree with DC's stance now because when you
it was to go on for a title fight. It was a co-main event, but it was a 3-round fight. Yeah, so
yeah, but I mean, Jim Miller has some good feathers in the cap, fought at 100, 200, and 300. That's like impressive in itself. So, I mean, like,
back to what you're saying though about the fighters like who get in based on a fight. That I agree with you that like it holds less of a prestige, but I always just kind of like inherently felt that. Like I always was like, if you get into the UFC in a wing, that's like once they made the wings, I was like, okay, that's kind of like a hierarchy in and of itself. Like the Pioneer wing is one wing to be proud of, and then like the modern era wing where you just get in like the fighter wing, that's like to me like you just got in based on your career and like what you did. I think there's like 8 people in there, and then you have like the fight wing. To me, like Israel Adesanya should be in as a fighter. He shouldn't be in just for that fight he had with Kelvin Gastelum. Like that to me, it's like everything better. He did so much more after that,
And he will get in once he retires, I'd imagine.
I guess,
Yeah.
I would think he would. But like Chael Sonnen, I also kind of would say if you fought John Jones, Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko,
Rampage Jackson.
But I'm just saying, like you fought
a champion from every weight class that even comes close.
You fought the number 1 pound for pound guy. You fought Anderson Silva, number 1 twice, number 1 pound for pound guy. John Jones, number 1 pound for pound guy. Fedor Emelianenko, number 1 pound for pound guy. You fought, and then you can even keep listing them. I mean, like you said, even when he fought Pedro Filo, that he was at the time ranked number 1. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I just
he didn't get a belt because the champion missed weight. Like, how does Chael not get the belt for beating him after the champion misses weight? So it's just not a title bout anymore. It's
a part of his lore. It's just a part of Chael's lore because Chael promised his father on his deathbed that he would become a world champion, and yet everything has defied him becoming a world champion. However, he's never lost a round.
Mhm.
I've never lost, but I've also never been injured. It's one of those things.
I love when
So-
Chael says that. It's one of those things. He says that all the time.
You're standing on third base wearing a catcher's mitt.
That's another
good
good
show.
one. That's another good one.
And not for nothing, guys. But the not for nothing is also a Joey Diazism. The not for nothing, guys. That's they both do that. The not for, and not for nothing, guys, is to me not for nothing is the best word ever. Like I want to use it every day. I'm always just like, and not for nothing. Like I feel there's an appropriate way to say that every day of your life.
No, I say it all the time. I say it all the time.
It's like because it's almost like everything I say, people are thinking I'm just saying it for nothing. It's almost like anytime I preface it, it's like, hey, not for you 9 people watching, not for nothing. Fucking like the video and comment. Even if you comment just a thumbs up or you comment, hey, Luke, you look great in that 1 of 100 vintage 1980s Wild Geckos glow in the dark hand painted sweatshirt. I mean, if you want to say that, that's fine too. I mean,
I swore that was an MTV hoodie this entire time.
yeah, it's MTV, baby. It's very MTV. No, this is a wild.
Like I thought that was an MTV logo right there.
This is a gecko hoodie. It's an 80s hand painted glow in the dark. Want to see if it glows? Hold on. Let's see. It glows. This is a pitch black room. Hold on. If I turn off my virtual background.
Yeah, we might have an easier time seeing that.
Do you see? See, it glows. Trust me, it's glowing. The problem is my
Camera light.
the light of. But look, you can even see this is glowing.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is fluorescent. But anyway, these people didn't come.
There's the glow.
Oh, you see the glow now. Now you see the glow. These people didn't come for Fashion Hour, so.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. I guess I'll go with Vitor Petrino, but you got to be concerned because this guy Vitor Petrino has left a lot to be desired in there. I feel like he's done nothing but disappoint me, and he is nowhere near as good as we think he is, and he's not very good at all. If Anthony Smith is submitting you, hate to break it to you, buddy, you suck. Anthony Smith is the worst fighter to ever live. Charles Oliveira was robbed. True.
You know what's funny? I was listening to the MMA Guru react to it, and he said he was like, he should have walked off, chat. He should have walked it off, right? He should have walked it off. And I thought he was at first joking about Charles Oliveira, like, hey, walk that punch off. Like you can walk that off and continue, But no, he was saying that Topuria should have walked off, knocked out him instead of following up with the shots. But no, I love the follow-up shots like McGregor Aldo, bang, bang, like just so there's no fucking argument. You know what I mean? Now the Rodriguez situation again, I think was a little different. It happened with McGregor Aldo. It happened very quick. With him and Charles happened very quick. Rodriguez did a slow stroll over to him and was like, yeah, bang. That was like a knockout on somebody who like did something to you like bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you do that on somebody when you like can't even control yourself. Like
that's like you're in a street fight. I missed the fight. Was at Jeff Bezos' wedding. Just got back. Okay, well, fancy schmancy.
Fancy schmancy. See if you can strike us a deal with Amazon Prime. We would love that.
Or Prime Energy.
It's like it's everybody's always now about like they're about the views. How many views you got? It's like okay, how many views did Judy Garland have before she did The Wizard of Oz? How many views did Mark Hamill have before he did Star Wars? Like yes, sometimes there's such a thing as undiscovered talent, and we happen to be in that category. So, it's like it's called undiscovered talent. Like
yes,
buy low, sell high.
To be honest, I'd like to kind of stay undiscovered. I would like no one to find this ever. I don't necessarily want the repercussions of this show to influence my everyday life.
And when you look into it,
I would like to be able to speak freely. It was already
That's
too
what-
much when Chris Curtis
and
was
that's-
commenting on the videos and
That's
Ian
what we can do here
McGarry.
with you fine folks. So if you have any, we're about to wrap up. We got 2 more fights. So if you have any questions, ask them now. We're out of here in 8 minutes. All right. I'm going with Vitor Petrino. It's obvious he's going to win, even though he sucks. If he loses this fight, he should be cut from the UFC, but I'm taking Vitor Petrino and Vitor Petrino by submission.
Okay, fair enough.
All right,
Vitor
next we got my
Petrino here as
boy,
well.
my fucking boy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has been the bane of my existence for 2.5 years. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson came out there against Kevin Holland. I bet heavy on Kevin Holland to beat Wonderboy Thompson at money line, pick 'em odds. And, Kevin Holland quit on his stool. Kevin Holland controlled what happened within the fight by not going to the ground with him. He controlled what happened in the fight by deciding exactly when it ended, when he quit on his stool. Then they did a tequila commercial together. And in that commercial, they were talking during the fight and planning on hanging out after and making all this money together. And then they did cheers to each other. And it was just salt in my wounds, salt and lime in my tequila wounds for the last 2.5 years. It was only when Kevin Holland quit on his stool against Roman Dolideze in the same night that Joaquin Buckley knocked out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson 8 months and 3 weeks ago. It was only in that night when I parlayed those 2 outcomes together, Kevin Holland being finished by Roman Dolideze, Kevin Holland losing to Roman Dolideze, who was an underdog at the time on the money line, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson being finished by Joaquin Buckley. It was only during that night that I was able to win $3,000. The night that my best friend got married, I spent the night watching in the Airbnb in Vermont at my friend's wedding in the basement alone. Beautiful Airbnb, pool table, big L-shaped couch, big ass TV. I'm watching these events unfold by myself. After my best friend got married, he's up with his wife and his children. My wife's asleep with our children. I'm watching the fight by myself in this basement, winning $3,000, watching both my enemies, Kevin Holland and Wonderboy, who fucked me on the same night, go down in the same night, and that was Wonderboy's last fight. So I buried the hatchet with Kevin Holland that night, and I've since bet on him against Jack Della Maddalena. I since bet on him against other guy.
Nelson.
Gunnar Nelson. I bet on him against, who's his last fight?
Vicente Luque.
And I bet on him against Vicente Luque. And Kevin Holland has since made things right. The karma has been repaired. I've won money on Kevin Holland now, him losing and then him winning twice. Wonderboy. Not only did he burn me on that night with Kevin Holland, but he burned me when he pulled out of his fight against Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira, who was, I believe, an underdog, if not a minus 150 favorite. And I was going to unload the Brinks truck on Michel Pereira. He was running in the mountains. He was running with a weight vest on. He was going to kill Wonderboy Thompson. He missed weight. Wonderboy pulled out, wanted his money, wanted a welfare check. Dana White said, stuff it, kiss it, suck it. You're getting nothing. And Wonderboy bitched, complained, and was a yellow belly coward who returned to South Carolina. He was yellow. It's like Wonderboy wants to weigh you in. You go up, you pinch Wonderboy's non-existent wife on the butt. You get he's gonna pull out a scale and be like, whoa, how much do you weigh there, fella? Because he won't fight you if you're 6 pounds heavier than the limit, even if he gets 30% of your purse, and even if he all this bullshit. So the karma is not repaired. The karma is not repaired with Wonderboy, and he's 42 years old at 170. I don't think a 42-year-old has ever beat a 27-year-old at 170. This would be a first. Gabriel Bonfim certainly disappointed us against Nicholas Dalby, getting knocked out a year and 7 months ago, but his one loss is not enough for me to not back up the Brinks truck on Gabriel Bonfim. Gabriel Bonfim to win by submission or by knockout, but I'm assuming it'll be by submission. He takes him down. I think he chokes that chicken neck off his head. Gabriel Bonfim to win by submission.
I'm going with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Okay.
And I just think that Gabriel Bonfim is very finish dependent. Wonderboy's a hard guy to track down, get a hold of him, land a punch on. I think that he's going to do well enough at keeping his distance to win this fight. Now, I hate picking this pick. This pick is one that I'm going to have to grab my nose while I'm going into it and watching. I'm not going to enjoy Wonderboy winning whatsoever. I don't like Wonderboy, but ball don't lie. This is a typical, you don't expect this guy to win. He's going to win. He shouldn't win. He's going to win. He's the thorn in your side. He is your enemy. Sometimes your enemy will have a triumphant day. And I think Wonderboy is going to have a triumphant day. Everybody's, writing his obituary, and he's going to be, he's going to have one last ride, I think, and win this fight against Gabriel Bonfim. Great matchup for him. Like I said, going to stay on the outside, going to land a lot of, tippy-tappy, keeping his range, not really getting hit with anything, not going to get taken down, and he's going to find his way into a decision victory. Or maybe even finish Gabriel Bonfim. He could knock him out because Bonfim does gas. He is a notorious gasser. Wonderboy ain't gassing. Wonderboy is going to be on that bike all fight. And I don't see Gabriel Bonfim touching Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I don't see him getting touched by Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And I know he got finished by Shavkat and Joaquin Buckley, but those are two way better opponents than Gabriel Bonfim. So give me Wonderboy. He only loses to the best of the best. And I think he's going to beat Gabriel Bonfim. Next up, we got the main event of the evening. We got the Black Beast, Derek Lewis versus João Talison Teixeira. This is a tough one for me as well. Is this another old dog move here? It is 265, so it wouldn't be, out of the realm of possibility for Derek Lewis at 40 years old flat to get a win here. The heavyweight division is notorious for having, older guys be successful, but mainly because the talent level is not there and these veterans can get away with, some of their veteran tricks. Derek Lewis admitted that he will cheat. He will do anything. He will do what it takes to win a fight. I don't think this guy has a single opponent of note. He's gotten everybody out of there in the first round except for one dude he went to a decision with. I think Derek Lewis in the first round is a dangerous Derek Lewis. And I think if you try to get Derek Lewis out of there in the first round, granted, Derek Lewis is a rich man. Derek Lewis has his money. Sometimes he goes out there to collect a check. He does, go out without much of a fight sometimes. Tai Tuivasa comes to mind. Sergey Spivak comes to mind. Sergey Pavlovich comes to mind. But, in that Jailton Almeida fight, Derek Lewis fought for that money hard. He's been back on that I gotta try methodology instead of I'm just going out here to collect a check. I think Derek Lewis will win this fight. And that's two old men in a row. That's two men over 40 years old. But I think that Derek Lewis is going to find a way to win this one. I don't think that this guy has nearly enough experience or skill to get Derek Lewis out of there. Now, who knows? He could be the next Tom Aspinall, just flatlining everybody in a minute. We don't see a lot of him, so everybody thinks he's worse than he is. But I'm going to go with Derek Lewis. I think he's going to be too big, too hearty, and he's going to be able to get on in the inside, and he's going to be able to deal some damage.
See, I think that Talison Teixeira's grappling is going to help with the striking in the sense that when he got clenched up with Tafa, you could tell he was probably going to take him to the ground, but he just started hitting with elbows, and that guy fucking went down, and just it was over, Yeah, I think that I'm sorry, Alex, I have to disagree. I'm going to go with Talison Teixeira by finish, Talison Teixeira by knockout, possibly by submission. He might hit him with a lot of shit and then get a submission. Derek's a smart guy. He's open about how he cheats, doesn't try, and wants to get in and out with the bag. I think Derek Lewis gets beat here. Most importantly, it's not a must-win situation for him. He just won his last fight. Has no intentions fighting for a title. I do think that, his 40 fights are great, but he's also 40 years of age. So that's why I'm going to have to go with Talison Teixeira to get the knockout. I do love Derek Lewis. Won't leave it up to it in all of my money-winning situations, but I'm going to pick. That's just going to be my pick, just because I always bet on youth, and just because I'm a fan of the guy, can't let that get in the way.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go through our full picks top to bottom. I'm sorry to leave you hanging there. I got caught up in some bullshit. All right, full picks top to bottom. I didn't write any of these down, so let me go first, and then that way I can copy yours down. in the open bet sheet for UFC Nashville. If you guys want to get access to that, get our full picks listed out and see what we're betting, go ahead and do that. Go to the Patreon, patreon.com/perk-play-pursuit. That'll get you access to the open bet sheet. And then you'll be able to see, who we're picking. I'm going with Taliesin Teixeira, Gabriel Bonfim, Vitor Petrino, Calvin Cater, Tuco Tucos. Switching this one. Nate Landwehr, Eduardo Mora, Fatima Klein, Jake Matthews, Chris Curtis, Walter Volker, and Mike Davis.
All right. We are in line at the bottom. We are diametrically opposed on the top. So I'm going with Derek Lewis, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Vitor Petrino, Steve Garcia, Junior Tafa, Morgan Charrier, Eduardo Mora, Fatima Klein, Jake Matthews, Chris Curtis, Walter Volker, and Mike Davis.
All right, so the double P certified picks are going to be Mike Davis, Walter Volker, Chris Curtis, Jake Matthews, Fatima Klein, Eduardo Mora, and then, as Alex said, no alignment except Vitor Petrino. After that. So I just typed these into the open bet sheet, the tab that says UFC Nashville, and you'll be able to see those. But yeah, me and Alex, we agree all the way through the prelims. Mike Beast Boy Davis, Walter Volker, all the way up to Eduardo Mora. And then we even agreed on Morgan Charrier, but I'm switching after realizing the home field advantage for Mr. Nate Landwehr. And then we don't agree again until Vitor Petrino. So first 6 fights, double P certified, then Vitor Petrino. 7 total. And that'll do it for this week, guys. Thanks so much for joining the show. Let me know if you have any questions. Wonder how many NFL players lose fingers for the 4th or the under. What
I will say it's been a while since an NFL player has lost a finger on the 4th. So I would. I would smash the over.
Fourth of July, yeah. Nah, man, you want to not be holding the fireworks that you light. You never know how quick that fuse is going to go, and just put them on the ground, light them.
We got away unblemished when it comes to firework mishaps, and we played with fireworks.
We pushed it. We pushed the line. Go down the south of the border, get some fireworks, blow them up. I'm talking those little M80 ones you can put in a Snapple bottle, throw up, make a glass explosion. You're talking about those ones you drop in mortar style. And we had mortar firework mishaps in the front yard. I mean, being shot at the house, shot at people. People have taken burns to the face. I mean, it's and this was with adult supervision, guys. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Go out there, enjoy. I would say don't go out there. I would say just enjoy the time at home with the family, grill, have a party at your house. Don't really drive. Don't get stuck in traffic. Don't do anything crazy. Just a little staycation at home. Enjoy being free. Enjoy your home. And we'll be back next week to check in with you guys. Thanks so much, CBGB MMA. Thanks, NWMMA. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Dirty Reg. Thank you, The Prestige. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show this week. We really appreciate it. Get in that Discord. And, hey, if we have good picks and good plays for the fights in between now and the next UFC, the PFLs, the LFAs, the KSWs, all this different shit, let's throw some shit out in the Discord. Let's get some bets going. I'm going to get bored. I know I'm going to want to bet on something. So let's figure out what we got, try to make some money in the interim. And Lukey feels like AI. So good job. Lukey feels like AI of so good job, Euro.
Hey, he is AI. That is my dirty little secret. I do this show all by myself.
I can't wait to become AI, NWO. I can't wait to be AI.
And
when I'm AI, I'll be much better looking for you. Don't worry.
Dan is AI too, and that's the worst part.
In this episode, dude. I don't.
The system started learning it's alive, and that's why he left the show. We can't tame this damn thing.
And when you look into it,
Guys, get into the Patreon, full year, $100 for the full year. That gives you access to the open bet sheet. The open bet sheet has our full picks listed out nice and neat, top to bottom. Me, Alex, double P certified picks, as well as the open bets that we place in the open bet sheet. I bet this weekend. And let me just give you a little sneak peek. I mean, let's see, Luke's tab. So these were situations that you could have been a part of if you were here. You could have partake. Can you see this, Alex?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, a lot of losses, but a lot of wins too. And we ultimately came out profitable in the night. And this is how I list my stuff out. I have, I started out with like my pre-event total, my current bankroll, the losses, the wins, the wagers out, the wager I made, all the fights, all the picks, everything. And then we also have this other tab in here that you can visit. And we have another tab that has all the picks listed out. So get in there, and really it's just a way to support the show. I'm not promising anything. I'm just saying get in there, donate $100 for 1 year. If you don't have $100 to spend on a year, you shouldn't be gambling. But we'll gamble with it. We'll have fun with it, and we will let you know what we do with it. Please join the Patreon. Give us money, $100 for the year. Please do that. And then that's it. Nothing left. Have a great 4th of July weekend, everybody. Nothing else? There you go.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
I thought you were ending, and I hit him with the Nardwar.
I hold on. I didn't end it yet. Hold on.